And we're back. Hopefully you all have participated in our activity. Next up, the speaker will be discussing the strength in taking breaks from the perspective of a dedicated athlete. Welcome to the stage, Zeynep Uthman.
May those of you who are athletes or who have been athletes, raise your hand. Athletes, you know this feeling very well. The pressure to perform, the expectation to win, the weight of your team relying on you, your coach believing you, your family watching you from the sidelines, and that voice in your head telling you that anything less than your best isn't enough. And for those of you who aren't athletes, the feeling isn't unfamiliar. You may feel it in exam hall, where one grade seems to define your future. In performances, where every mistake feels magnified, even in daily life, where expectations from others and yourself slowly build and build. But no matter where it shows up, the feeling isn't unfamiliar. So, what if sports weren't about it? What if the scoreboard wasn't the most important number on the field? Because the truth is, sometimes the game doesn't end when the whistle blows. Sometimes the weight of the game follows you home. It sits beside you at dinner, making you relive the final moments over and over. It follows you into your room, louder in the silence than the crowd ever was. And long after the arena lights go out, it lies awake with you at night. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Zeynep, a grade 10 student and a 9-year competitive basketball player. And I once played an entire tournament injured. Not because I didn't realize it, I was aware. Athletes are always aware. We know the difference between normal soreness and the instability of a joint that isn't holding the way it should. We know the difference between simple exhaustion and when something is truly wrong. This wasn't normal soreness you stretch out or numb with ice. It was damage. Every time I pivoted, my ankle weakened. My body kept warning that something was wrong. But my mind kept answering, keep going. Because stopping doesn't feel like an option. In sports, we're taught to push past discomfort, fear, limits. Likewise in school, we're taught to keep up with deadlines, expectations, classmates. So I became very good at one thing, pushing my limits to achieve my dreams. And that meant, little by little, I stopped listening when my body went. It meant choosing performance over health. It meant saying I was fine when I wasn't. And yet, from the outside, it didn't look reckless. It looked like discipline, not because I was strong, but because I had learned to live by those unspoken rules. So I forced myself to keep going, because I was afraid what it would mean if I couldn't keep up. Every practice I pushed through, feeling the ache of my ankle, feeling my ankle wobble with every pivot, my pain left unseen. I kept telling myself, I'm fine. And yet, people praised me. They called me dedicated, committed, resilient. But what they were really applauding was my ability to hurt myself quietly, to carry the pain alone, to keep going, even when my body warned me to stop. The tournament ended, and then the whistle blew. On that court, we had just lost. All the quiet pain I carried alone, gone in a single score. The cheers from the stands faded. The shouts in the sidelines disappeared. Even the steady thump of the ball on the hardwood was gone. That gym, that had been so loud moments ago, fell into complete silence. A silence so heavy, it pressed down on my chest. All the effort, all the quiet suffering suddenly felt impossible to ignore. Every sacrifice in front of me, yet still somehow unnoticed by everyone else. Everything I had pushed through, my pain, my persistence, my sacrifices, lingered in the quiet, waiting for me to finally know. And when the game was over, and the gym empty, I went home. The streets were quieter than usual, the evening light stretching long shadows across the pavement. My backpack felt heavier than it had all day, from everything I carried onto that court. I didn't immediately think about the next match, the mistakes I might have made, or the practices I would miss. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't chasing anything. Not even the game I had played on an injured ankle. I just sat, letting my leg rest against the soft edge of the mat. I just sat, feeling my breath settle. Slow, steady, intentional, feeling the tension ease from my shoulders. I listened, not to the noise of the game, but to the quiet inside of me, the ache in my muscles, and the fatigue in my ankle. And slowly I realized what this quiet was teaching me. I wasn't ignoring my body anymore. I wasn't thinking about the next game, the mistakes I might have made, or the next chance to prove myself. For the first time in weeks, I was just still. I sat, feeling the tension in my ankle, the weight of everything I'd carried on for so long. I didn't know what to do with it, or if I should do anything at all. I was just letting it be, letting myself be. And in that moment, I realized something. My body had been trying to tell me something all along. I wasn't sure what yet, but for the first time, I was giving it a chance to speak. So I went to the hospital. Oh, I remember the waiting room. The walls were stark white, almost glaring against my eyes. That sharp, chemical scent of disinfectant stung my nose with each breath. The clock ticked loudly in the otherwise full room, each sound reverberating off the stair wall. The fluorescent lights flickered above my head, their angles cutting across the floor. A distant beep from a monitor, foot shuffles in the hallway. Each sound felt magnified, each second stretching, until the wait seemed endless. My thoughts raced in the otherwise full room. What if it was worse than I thought? What if I couldn't play again this season, or ever? What if everything I had pushed through had been for nothing? And then, I heard the words I had been dreading. My ligament was torn. I sank into the stiff plastic chair in that examination, gripping its edge so tightly, my knuckles turned white, as if holding on could stop the world from tilting. After hearing the diagnosis, the throbbing in my ankle hit me all at once, sharp, insistent, impossible to ignore. I couldn't believe I had moved through the entire tournament without realizing it. Every pivot, every sprint, every shot I forced myself to take flashed across my mind. And suddenly, it hit me. I had been silencing my body, all in the name of staying strong. But even as my ankle strained, life moved on, assignments went on, classes went on. Even as my ankle strained, the world expected me to keep moving, to keep performing, to keep going. The unspoken rules I'd learned in sports and school were still in force. Push, keep up, endure. And those expectations weren't abstract. They were everywhere. My team needed consistency. My school needed results. I had begun to notice my body in the quiet without realizing. But noticing wasn't enough. I still needed permission. Permission to pause, to stumble, to heal without guilt. Because we don't talk about what happens in the middle. The quiet hours after the game, where your body aches and your mind races. All the sleepless nights, the meals, the moments with friends you give up, just to keep going. The voices around us, coaches, fans, and society talk about comeback stories. We glorify the athlete who sacrifices rest and health to prove resilience. We applaud the student who pushes through. But who asks what it costs them? Health? Sleep? A peace of mind? Who sees what they give up just to keep going? So I started asking myself a different question. What if sports weren't about how much pain we can tolerate, but about everything we do when no applause comes? We think highly of people who push through pain, but rarely question, how has resting become failure? How has slowing down become losing? How has asking for help become a weakness? What if strength wasn't measured by how much we survive, but how long we can stay well? What if success wasn't measured by ignoring our limits, but recognizing them early to protect ourselves? What if strength was measured through recovery, not through pain? I didn't decide to stop because I was weak. I stopped because my body finally spoke in a language I could no longer translate into rationalization. So I listened, I rested, I allowed myself to fall behind temporarily. I allowed myself to disappoint expectations. I allowed myself to heal without guilt. So maybe sports aren't about winning. Maybe they're about learning our limits so we can set our own boundaries. Maybe it's about learning when to push and when to pause. Maybe it's learning how to pace yourself, not just through a season, but through adulthood, through school, through life. Because the trophy lasts a year, but your body, it has to last a lifetime.